Yesterday was unreal. If I was better with video editing / gave it any effort at all, I would cut up a bunch of my summer streams saying, we're trying to repeat as Best Ball Mania champion. We're trying to repeat as Best Ball Mania champion. All those different streams pulled together. Man, Jaden Daniels. Finally, justice for years of Justin Fields, Trey Lance, Anthony Richardson, Jaden Daniels leading me to the promised land. Let's cut straight to it. Currently sitting 10th place in Best Ball Mania 5, the contest that put me on the map Best Ball wise the year of Best Ball Mania 2. I won Best Ball Mania 2. I parlayed that the next year into winning the DraftKings 555 and the DraftKings 2K tournament, winning 3 Best Ball tournaments, including having a recorded team. I recorded the winner of the 2K on this channel. Since then, we've touched the lives of millions of Best Ball players out there. Direct connections to the winners, of course. And yeah, we're sitting 10th in BBM 5. Let me pull everything up here. We're not out of the water. We ran obviously really good in some ways. We ran terrible in other ways. Ultimately, of course, I've ran good, as have all of you in life. So let's just get it up here. We got some data for you. We got some sim stuff. We got it all. So yes, unreal. 10th place with the score of 171.68. I am tapped out there. So if I am very, very, very lucky, I will stay in 10th and win 150 grand. If I'm pretty lucky, I'll remain top 20. So, some leeway there. That would net me 100K. If I'm a bit luckier than that, I'll remain top 15, 125. And, if I'm average luck or so, it's kind of hard to see myself dropping much out of the top 40, but you never know. If some player scores 40 points tonight, that could happen. Now, my roster that's counting right now, Jaden Daniels, who before that game, I had 9 points from Stafford. So ran good on Daniels in some ways, ran bad in other ways. I mean, he was moving through Atlanta like Swiss cheese all night. Kind of a weird game script to find themselves trailing. We got the overtime. We got Michael Penix throwing a touchdown to Kyle Pitts to force overtime, and them not going for 2, them going for 1. We get overtime. We get Jaden Daniels to throw another touchdown to vault me into the top 10. So getting 32 points from him, it was needed this week. When Joe Burrow scores 37, when Baker Mayfield scores 35, we needed it. Jonathan Taylor, big score from him. Almost expected. Honestly, could have been bigger. The Colts got the ball back several times. Joe Flacco turned it over twice. The biggest what if, Chase Brown sliding down at the 1-yard line, injuring himself, costing himself a touchdown. Huge butterfly effect from this. Not only did Chase Brown not get the touchdown, but then Joe Burrow rushed in the touchdown. And then Bo Nix hit an effective Hail Mary to Marvin Mims to force overtime. And then Joe Burrow threw another touchdown to T Higgins. So within a whiplash of like 5 seconds, we went from awesome game to what the heck to oh no to really, because yeah, a lot of these teams are going to have T Higgins on them, and T Higgins doing well is a bit bittersweet for me. because I literally called out his price this summer in an article I wrote about the market being illogical. And, that article wasn't perfect. There was some good call outs in there, but yeah, I mean, the first guy I wrote up in the market not being logical was T Higgins, only to have T Higgins nearly bury us. I mean, honestly, the way Sunday went after the way that game went, big difference. I said last year T Higgins went near other wide receiver twos, such as Devonta Smith and Jalen Waddle. So this is an example of me looking at the market as a whole over years and what it's doing and what's not logical, which is an edge different than straight up player evaluation, right? It comes with experience, right? Someone like me has been in these best ball streets for years, so I'm able to actually remember and think through what was the market doing and why is it doing it. And I said, after being such a fantasy disappointment, Joe Burrow getting hurt, he's now available in the 5th round. So he went from being paired with Smith and Waddle. Smith and Waddle, by the way, still were wide receiver twos on their own offenses, still going at the 2-3 turn. We didn't care about them. All three of them have contingent upside, Waddle, Smith, Higgins. However, Joe Burrow is a strong favorite to throw for more yards and touchdowns. So you have all these guys who are twos on their own offense. However, clearly you would prefer to have Higgins neck attached to Joe Burrow versus Hurts options and Tua's options. Like, that doesn't take a genius. I've not been a big fan of T Higgins' game because he doesn't win by separation. He's a big body guy. I mean, in half point, maybe we should be a fan of this. And there's other guys who are there to like. Rashee Rice, Kirk, Cooper. Obviously, they didn't all work out. So, yeah, when he was going at the 2-3 turn, again, you get this at beatbestball.com with a guy who's been in the streets. When he was going at the 2-3 turn, he was on the top 10 teams that year. The teams that won the total points contest were drafting T Higgins at the 2-3 turn. So, yeah, he was a slam dunk in the 4-5. I regret not coming around to that sooner. Part of the reason I put this article out, not 100%ing him, He was 2 full rounds cheaper. Now, obviously why they were doing this is because of Joe Burrow's wrist and whatnot. I said Joe Burrow, in my opinion, is the 3rd best quarterback in football. So yeah, didn't make any sense on Higgins. And unfortunately, yeah, he gets that killer touchdown. I'm assuming most of these teams ahead of me have Higgins contributing 35 points. Yep. So that stinks. Also, if I just get 7 more points, okay, now I'm at 177. We also had a touchdown clank off Trey McBride's head to end the game. That would have been another 7 points. So 177, 183. That would put us 3rd or so. And then we also had Devonta Smith tackled at the half-inch line. That would have been another 7. That would have put us in 1st. If we ran the parlay of McBride, Smith, and Brown scoring touchdowns, we'd be sitting in 1st. Not to mention the Brown touchdown. Obviously, a lot of the Bengals stuff doesn't happen. But hey, guys, that's the variance of this game. It's crazy, right? Because you can't really sit here and be like, oh, the Broncos didn't go for 2, which I would have gone for 2 if I was the Broncos. The Broncos didn't go for 2, but then also celebrate Jaden Daniels and the Michael Penix not going for 2, So, anyways, continuing the team. Was a little deflating. Christian Watson got hurt week 16. Demarcus Robinson didn't do anything. Brian Thomas, best pick in fantasy this year. I was really into him all year. Calvin Ridley contributing. Could have been a better day for him. Terry McLaurin doing nothing on a huge Jaden game. Overall, that probably helps me because I have the wide receiver depth and not everyone team does. Devonta Smith, huge game. And, Slim Shady, he's done this in the past. He's done this. He's done this in week 17. And then Puka Nacua, huge game from him. Would have liked to get a touchdown. Trey McBride, big game from him. Jonnu almost beat Calvin Ridley's 11. Jerome Ford got hurt right away. Chuba Hubbard obviously was out. Maybe that helps me overall. Don't know. So, anyways, it all came together. Jaden Daniels has us sitting in 10th. I definitely think like my team is better than a lot of these teams, which, you know, if your team is getting carried by Marvin Mims, count your lucky stripes, which I guess not a ton of teams are, honestly. I was expecting more Mims teams up here. Neighbors scoring at the last second as well. Pretty crazy. The winner of the DraftKings Millie Maker has Drew Lock on it. Who would have thought? So yeah, unreal. We're sitting in 10th. Just crazy. We're gonna look at a couple things today. Thankfully, we have the database here, so we can kind of look what our sweats are. Now, very interestingly, the Lions have nothing to play for tonight. Nothing. A win or a loss or a tie does not matter at all to them. If they beat the Vikings week 18, they are the 1 seed. If they lose, they are not. So, you know, doesn't matter if they beat the 49ers, doesn't matter if they lose. A lot of teams would rest players. Dan Campbell was asked this question going into the game and said, "I'm not resting guys." Yeah, Adam Thielen, dude, him too. So yeah, a lot of guys wouldn't play players. Dan Campbell was asked this. He said, "I'm not resting guys." Now, I don't know if he was probably asked that before the situation was at hand. And what's hard is it's hard on you as a coach to prep your players like you are playing that game and then to find out you don't need to play it. And so it's like, I think you need to pretend you were playing everyone. Maybe he does play everyone. Maybe he plays a full game. That's definitely in the range of outcomes. I also think that throughout the course of the day, the owner, the GM are going to be like, "Hey, Dan, do we really need to play everyone?" Also, maybe they'll plan to play everyone. You know, a guy gets banged up in the first quarter and maybe they reevaluate and they're like, "You know what? Never mind." Maybe they pull guys at half. Maybe the game gets out of hand. You don't know. Or maybe, maybe these guys end my dream because put up a huge score. But, if things get bananas, could definitely fall way out. So I'm hoping that the Lions rest their guys because the Lions are mega chalk. Before we get into that, I think we'll look at these are simmed EVs that Patrick, the creator of BBMDB, had. And he has a snapshot of Friday evening, Saturday morning, Sunday morning, and post Sunday. So Friday evening, which was after the Christmas games, right? That was on the 27th. So it was after Thursday Night Football. It was after learning Lamb was ruled out. It had me sitting with the raw equity of 6th, and it really liked Jalapeno Jenkins' team. So I had the 6th best equity on, and this is not combined for multiple teams. This is just the Puka team. Had me as 6th best with 74K. What this tells me is that if he ran these sims before any games played, my team would consistently sim out as one of the best teams. And I'm saying this because Derrick Henry and Lamar already scored like good games, and it still had me simming well. Saturday morning, it had me in 11th, 67K. Sunday morning, so after the Saturday games, it didn't like me anymore. It had me down in 99th. It had me as 14 grand of raw equity, meaning that it was simulating the slate, counting the actual scores of T Higgins, Joe Burrow, Marvin Mims, and it was like, no, dude, you're not gonna do well. You're gonna be 100th, which is like good but not great, because of course the prizes are very top heavy. They're flat, but they're top heavy, right? But like 100th in this contest gets you 11K. Last in the finals gets you 3750. So it would be nice. It would be a nice ladder up, but nothing like a year's salary or anything. And now post Sunday, it has me post Sunday Night Football. It has me as 23rd. So it doesn't have me top 10 raw equity, which obviously is what I would want to see, but it still has me as good equity, right? And obviously the actual EVs of the teams are not sensical. For example, if I finish 20th, I'm making 100K. If I finish 23rd, I will make 75K, right? So this is the ladders of the actual payouts, not the raw equities, right? So interesting to see the huge swings based on the games. What you could tell from this is that I ran bad on Saturday. We all know that with the Higgins, Burrow, Mims touchdowns. I ran good on Sunday. To go from 99th to 23rd in equity means I ran good on Sunday. Obviously, what ran good based on like what was simmed? Devonta Smith, Slim Shady, or the Slim Reaper. Could have had a third touchdown too, but he got it. He got one late, so that was probably not exactly in the sims. Some guys didn't score well. Jaden Daniels scoring 32 points. That probably wasn't a simmed outcome. JT, hard to say there. Brian Thomas Jr., a lot of people had him, but still. So that is where we sit. Let's look at some of the teams now. I guess they have a very minor thing to play for. I don't know if this is true. If they lose tonight and tie versus Vikings, they won't get 1 seed. So first thing we want to look at is the chalk guy. So Gibbs, don't think Gibbs is as much of a worry for me, barring a huge game. Remember, I am sitting 10th, 171.68. So Gibbs, we got 10-point lead on who's to say, and he's got Gibbs versus an 11. So Gibbs 20 and under, we hold. Gibbs 20 and over, we get past. This guy has Gibbs off an 11 as well, but he has even more of a lead. This is like 24 and under. Does this guy have anyone else either? He also has Isaac Grendo. Isaac Grendo off an 11 as well. Technically, he has Gibbs or Grendo off an 11, and then Gibbs or Grendo off a 15. So, I don't know. We don't want to see Gibbs or Grendo have a huge game, but they can, they can score 15 points and we're okay. This guy has both Gibbs off an 11 and a Monraw off a 16. Now, I mean, yesterday's game was so high scoring, or yesterday's slate was so high scoring, just insane, right? Yeah, it feels like every couple moments we had a different guy scoring 2 touchdowns, where it was like, oh, I'm dead. Oh, I'm alive. Oh, I'm dead. Oh, I'm alive. Because it was like, okay, freaking like Wan'Dale Robinson scoring another touchdown, but then Jonathan Taylor scores another touchdown, and then Adam Thielen scores another touchdown. That's not good. And then Devonta Smith scores another touchdown. Just insane. So Gibbs, probably not the biggest worry by himself. Again, I don't know how much the Lions are going to play him. Amon-Ra. Bizarrely, 4 of the top 10 teams already have Amon-Ra. So, I mean, these teams are already ahead of me. It doesn't matter if they go further ahead of me. This guy. Now, the good thing I'll say is with this slate being so high scoring, even a good Amon-Ra game, it's like, bro, you got to replace a 20 in half-point PPR. Isn't it crazy? This guy has a tight end room of Njoku, Luke Musgrave, who actually got a catch, and Theo Johnson. Insane. Insane team. Truly crazy. So, Amon-Ra can't, it would need a huge game to displace me. So, basically, voting for Amon-Ra 15 and under again. Right? 15, you're off of 15.9. Actually, you're off of 10. So 15 would get this guy 5 points. 171.12. We're at 171.68. So yeah, Amon-Ra 15 and under, and we hold versus that team. This guy is Amon-Ra off of a 11. Same deal. 15 and under. He also has Goff. So, yeah, I mean, Goff and Amon-Ra, a huge game from them. Not what I'm rooting for. The Sun God, he won me BBM2. Now I'm hoping he rest up, big dog. You got to get big game against the Vikings. Kittle's on the first place team. This guy's team, by the way, if you're curious. Joe Burrow, Jonathan Taylor, Chase Brown. So duped on running backs. What a run out for him, though. He has Pacheco, Connor, Ty Chandler, who all didn't do anything. Chase, Smith, duped. T Higgins, he has I don't. Brian Thomas, duped. He has Ricky Pearsall going tonight and Brock Purdy. And Adam Thielen, he has I didn't. Demarcus Robinson, duped. He has Kittle off of 9.6. I had Trey McBride. So, yeah, it looks like the difference between our teams is T and Thielen. Because Juwan basically matches Calvin Ridley for me, and Trey McBride basically matches Adam Thielen. So it's just this T score. Freaking T Higgins, man. Like, if you just remove T Higgins, massive score, who, by the way, almost didn't play the game. Literally, every team in the top 10 except me and one other team has T Higgins on it. All of these teams also have T Higgins. So it's like, bro, T Higgins might be the difference between top 10, top 20, and top 3 in Best Ball Mania. Sick game. Sick game. Let's do Kittle. I'm going to throw this coffee on. I'll be right back. All right, sorry guys. Wouldn't be a Monday morning stream without a random coffee break, right? Kittle, first place team, sixth place team. We don't care about them. All the way down to 45th. Kittle off of a 11. Not a huge concern. Could occur, right? Kittle off of a 7. But then you got teams like this, which have like Amon-Ra, J-Mo, Kittle, and I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and do all the raw math, but it's like, is there some random collection of hodgepodge which can have all three of these guys perfectly get enough points? I don't know. He's at the 150s. He'd need to make up 20 points. So sure, probably. Just Kittle. So Kittle doesn't seem like the biggest concern. Purdy, I can't imagine Purdy's going to matter. But there might be some teams that don't have quarterbacks. Probably not, though. By the way, 4-quarterback team. Dumb. Let's pour some out for the haters. Tough season for them. Tough channel for them to follow, honestly. And let's pour some out for the game stacking. Week 17 doesn't matter. What game stacks did we have matter for best ball? Well, how about Marvin Mims and T Higgins and Joe Burrow? Freaking smash. How about Jaden Daniels, Bijan, and Zach Ertz? Smash. How about Adam Thielen, Mike Evans, Baker Mayfield, Jalen McMillan, Bucky Irving? Smash. Right? How about, yeah, dude, freaking Conklin, man. I was right to be on Conklin. What matters is your week 17 score. Yeah, Tampa with the, I mean, I think the actual nuts was Marvin Mims and T Higgins, which, I mean, like, dude, kind of running. 29 teams have Marvin Mims. Marvin Mims, one of the worst picks in fantasy this year. There were only 2 teams with Mims Higgins. How about Puka and Trey McBride? That was pretty much a smash as well. Yeah, agree and disagree. Team stacking is definitely important. It can be overdone though, right? I think team stacking, like, I probably over team stacked the Bills this year on some teams. Were you happy to team stack the Bengals though? Yes. JT Neighbors, nuts, literal nuts. Yes. Team stacking, like Lamar and Henry, dude. Getting Lamar and Henry to both hit your lineup in the same week, that's running really good. But that was still a good combo. Worthy, Jalen Warren, not terrible. I agree. That was like the sad boy version of JT Neighbors. JT Neighbors, the effective nuts. What other games? What was your draft position? I took Puka 7th overall for that one, actually. We can look at that in a second. So Kittle, I think Laporta is someone I gotta look at too. Like, all these freaking line guys are chalk. Sam Laporta off of a 12. Sam Laporta off of a 7. Like, these aren't concerns by themselves. What I don't have an idea of, which, let's check on Herzig here. Laporta off of a 0. What I don't know is, like, are there some teams out there that have like Goff, Kittle, Amon-Ra, and have no points at those positions, Can you do a hypothetical perfect draft knowing week 17 for fun? Yeah, I think I might write an article on this, Rejizzle. It's always a thought I've had, but we could probably try to do something. Good question. You can sweat this live tonight by going to this link. It's also pinned in my Discord, which you can find the link to below. By the way, guys, How about like and subscribe to this stream? There's a lot of people streaming best ball, a lot of people talking about fantasy football. This is the place you want to be. A lot of people who are successful subscribe here. So give yourself a head start. Click the like, click the subscribe, interact. Yeah, it is updated live. And check out beatbestball.com. Going to be doing my playoff best ball content on there. And didn't do a video last Friday, mainly because, it's week 17. And I want to start doing that fresh on Tuesday. So we'll have that live tomorrow. Yeah, it doesn't always work, your week 17 game stacks. So sure, if you want to pick to one game that didn't work and be like, can't do it, I welcome you to do that. However, I mean, this team I drafted with week 17 game stacking in mind. And I can promise you that because it was drafted the day the NFL schedule, or like literally within an hour of the NFL schedule dropping, I drafted this guy in my pool. I remember I was in my pool and I drafted this team. And it had week 17 game stacks such as Calvin Ridley and Brian Thomas. It had Trey McBride and Puka Nacua. It had Jonnu and Jerome Ford, right? Like Jerome Ford, he's a big reason I'm here. So like, yeah, not a good week 17 score, but he had a good week 15, week 16, valuable pick. Rico and Devonta Smith, So part of the reason you should week 17 game stack is just to differentiate your players as well. And you never know, it might be the key guys to help you get through there. People are going to do whatever they want. All right, perfect draft. Let's do this for the perfect draft. Let's look at my Puka team. May 16th. That's wrong. It's May 15th. So here is the draft. I took Puka 7th overall. So, okay, right now, best first round pick you could have made. Best first round pick you could have made was Mike Evans. The best start you could have had for Best Ball Mania goes like this. You went Mike Evans, you went JT, you got Malik Neighbors, and then you got lucky and you also got Devonta Smith. That is the effective nuts right now for Best Ball Mania. Mike Evans, JT, Malik Neighbors, Devonta Smith. Those 4 players. You can swap a couple of them. McBride and Smith, that's close. As far as week 17 importance, maybe you could argue McBride's a better pick because tight end scoring is more scarce. Love that McBride, by the way, is on this team. Big believer in McBride. Won me the 555. Honorable mentions. Yeah, really, I said, I was thinking about this last night, but as someone that wrote a literal article on creating unique players and how the field doesn't do that, and we got even more data to back that up. This is totally free. You don't even need a subscription to the site to click this. But the best way of getting unique this year was to go, probably at the turn, was to go Mike Evans, Jonathan Taylor. Right? And then you get lucky and you either go Malik Neighbors to pair with JT, or you get Devonta Smith, or you get McBride. Lamar, Derrick Henry, honorable mentions. Saquon, honorable mention. Bijan had a good game. Chase, was fine. Obviously, some of these guys haven't played. It's like Lamar was good, man, but not really. Not really for winning. Henry was a good scorer. Running back scored pretty bad this on the year, you know? Running backs were pretty bad this week. Then in the 5th round, I mean, like Terry, honorable mention as far as like getting you to week 17. Xavier Worthy, honorable mention / maybe the guy. James Cook, definitely honorable mention. Maybe Kyle Pitts. Probably though, again, it was you throwing your balls on the table and saying, you know who's the correct 5th round pick? Brian Thomas Jr. Take that. Boom. So Brian Thomas Jr., you take in the 5th. In the 6th, you take Ladd McConkey. So you go Brian Thomas Jr., you go Ladd McConkey. In the 7th, you take Joe Burrow. Oh, wait. But, okay, no. I missed T Higgins. Obviously, the 5th round, the guy you take is T Higgins. Then you take Brian Thomas Jr. in the 6th. Then you take Ladd McConkey. And you can swap the order of Ladd and Brian. So our draft so far goes Mike Evans, JT, Neighbors / Smith, McBride, T Higgins, Brian Thomas Jr., Ladd McConkey. We're into the 8th now. You take Joe Burrow. We have smashed every position so far. So we really just need another running back. So we get Joe Burrow in the 8th. Joe Burrow, another huge love of mine all offseason. I was like, why is the guy who averages 23 fantasy points per game going in the 8th / 9th round? Doesn't make any sense. In the 9th, you probably take Chase Brown, as far as at least he's hit our line here, week 17 with a 10. Honorable mention Brock Bowers. Honorable mention Jaden Daniels if you don't take Burrow. In the 10th, Tajay Spears had an okay game. Jerome Ford is a way to get to week 17. You know, not all these players have to be just how they did week 17. Week 12, what I'm trying to see is, so the other running back you have to hit as far as like doing well week 17 is Bucky Irving. So one of these rounds, and this was like something I did a lot this year, is I drafted a lot of 0 running back guys. I somewhat drafted a narrow pool. Like I really liked Chase Brown. I liked Rico. I liked Ford. I liked Moss as well. So I just liked the Bengals guys. I liked Ray Davis. I liked Jalen Wright. And what I think a lesson here is like, look, there's really no effective difference from Jalen Wright, Ray Davis, Bucky Irving, even Will Shipley. Like I think all these guys were Kamani Vidal. All these guys went around the same cost in the literal NFL draft. And they all have outs to be in their RB2. And so the market and myself consistently had Wright and Ray significantly ahead of Bucky. And yeah, guess what? Sometimes you should just be like, no, never mind. I'm taking Bucky Irving in the 13th here, even though you know you can get him in the 14th and 15th. Like, what is valuable as far as actually winning this shit is having a unique combo of players. And it's not all the value is always going to cash in week 17. Sometimes the value is just navigating through your pod, right? You have the only combo of Bucky and Chuba because you reached and other people didn't, right? But you need Bucky on your team as far as like the perfect draft because he scores 21 points. Chuba Hubbard. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think you would draft Chuba Hubbard 100% of the time if you knew how his season went. Major injury week 17, but he's a big reason anyone made the finals. Jonnu Smith, definitely honorable mention, as well as J.K. Dobbins as far as best picks on the year. Zach Charbonnet had a good run here and there. So I think we hit most of the perfect draft. Hey, Chris. That's running good, man. Like, yeah, I mean, there are some teams. First off, thanks for the super chat, but there are some teams in here who ran really good. Like, they had on the finals, they had CeeDee Lamb, and so they're like, oh, I'm dead. And then next thing you know, Marvin Mims and yada yada are hitting their lineup, and now they're like, maybe gonna make serious cash. That's what we're looking at, man. The BBM Championship. That's this tournament. Dude, Adam Thielen was a guy I was actually into to start the year as well. I was like, why is the market so down on this guy who just like did so well last year? And then like as the year went, I was like, yeah, never mind. Fine. Screw it. Leggett. Madison had a decent week 17. Not really. I think Amir Abdullah had a better week. And he wasn't drafted at all. So yeah, that's our perfect draft. Let's see if the implied team totals have moved at all for this Lions 49ers game. Because obviously if the Lions team total is tanked, that would be an indication that people know that their starters are resting. So no, it's not moved. Really. Lions are sitting at 26 3/4. So, according to Vegas right now, they're still in there. The Kittle team seems like the most likely to. Yeah, I mean, I get who am I rooting for tonight? I think I'm rooting for Juwan Jennings, probably. Yeah, Juwan Jennings, pretty hard for him to hurt me. These teams are all pretty far back. So Juwan Jennings, have a day. This guy's in last right now. And yeah, obviously everyone out there would much rather make the finals and finish last. So, some of you made the finals, I'm sure, finished last, and that was kind of deflating. Others of you didn't make the finals, and your team would have done bad anyways. Others of you didn't make the finals barely, and your team would have done really well. That stinks as well, obviously. Just a crazy game, right? Total whiplash for me, whereas okay, after the T Higgins game, I was and just the Broncos shenanigans, Mims scoring 2 touchdowns. I was like, okay, fine. Maybe I can get 25K. And then after the McBride Puka game, I was like, oh, okay, maybe we can get, maybe we can get 50K here. Maybe we can get top 40. And then before the Sunday night game, I knew I needed 25 plus points from Jaden Daniels. Then we got that. And so yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna make. If I hold on, I will make 150K, which would be unreal. If I run still pretty good, I'll make 100K. If I run bad, I'll make 25K or less. So huge swings on the line. Yeah, we want to see Bridgewater, dude. We want to see Bridgewater. Nothing's safe, right? There's massive chalk. I feel somewhat safe, but, nothing's safe because there's a lot of chalk. Like, Amon-Ra scoring 30 would be bad, right? That would be bad. Sion Vaki, big Sion Vaki fan tonight. Craig Reynolds, big Craig Reynolds fan. You know who I'm a big fan of tonight? Ben Johnson's creativity. I want to see touchdowns to the backup tight ends, the backup tackles. Penny Sewell, I want to see score fullback touchdown. I would like to see. I mean, can Deebo Samuel actually hurt me, dude? Deebo Samuel off of a 15. So yeah, don't want him to score more than that. Deebo Samuel off of a 13. Justin Jefferson, by the way, continuing his tradition of sucking in the fantasy finals. Yeah, so I mean, we don't want Deebo to do well. Tim Patrick, yeah, Tim Patrick, he's got to be a pure sweat for us. Yeah, big fan of Tim Patrick. Tim Patrick off of a 15. Yeah, he's fine. Have a day, Tim Patrick. Yeah, I'll take a couple safeties. Shane Zylstra, definitely Jack. Allen Robinson fan, dude. I'm bringing out the jersey, man. Dan Skipper. How do you deal with the tilt in best ball? Not like we can do anything. Rob, it's hard, man. I don't know. Like, I just easily could have come up here and been like, guys, it didn't go for me, blah, blah, blah. Like, right? Like my other team, I don't even think I showed you guys my other team. I have 2 teams in the best ball finals, which is truly insane. My other team, it was a fine team. It's like hopefully it can hold on for 6K. It had Brian Thomas, it had Mike Evans, it had Baker Mayfield. It didn't get enough at running back. Tight end was okay. It got a 7, so it's like, yeah, good team. 6K, good result. $25 into 6K. $25 maybe into, or $50 into 156K. Like unreal, right? But this is how the majority of teams go. Like it's very hard to get to the finals. Again, roughly, if you max the contest, roughly 1 in 10, once every 10 years. It's very hard to do well when you get to the finals. So you best be building teams that can actually win this shit when you get here. No players tonight. No, I'm not going to hedge player props, dude. I mean, I don't even know, what am I going to do today? I'm going to watch the World Rapid Blitz Championship at 2 p.m. I'm going to go on a walk with my girlfriend. Finding a way to just pass the time, guys. That's what I would recommend. Going to go on a walk with my girlfriend. Going to eat some good food. Going to watch the Blitz Championship at 2 p.m. If you guys have been hearing, Magnus Carlsen quit because of jeans and then blah, blah, blah. Dude, I would like to, but tonight I'm just not going to do it. Because I don't want to anti-sweat. I don't know. We're just going to let it run. We're going to root for defense tonight. Please, God, hold. Please, God, hold. Just hold top 10. Unreal. 670. How many effing people are in this? 672,672 people. Unreal. Unreal. Currently sitting 10th and 232nd. When I won Best Ball Mania 2, I think it was 160,000 people. When I won the DK 555, that was 2K people, which is a hard tournament to win, guys. It's hard to beat 2,000 people. Anyone who plays poker will know when they sit down at like a tournament with 2,000 people, you're like, oh, that's hard, you know? 670,000 people were in 10th. And all rides on tonight, you know? Could get buried tonight. I feel on top of the world right now, but yeah. Wish we had just a little, just one more, 2 more touchdowns. We'd be feeling way more comfortable. But we ran good. We ran good to get here. We ran good to get teams in the finals. So much of what I theorized about came together for this. I've written and defended drafting in May for a long time. Drafting early. I wrote about drafting when the schedule drops. That's what this team is. I streamed a team that made the finals. Unreal, right? I wrote about, I'm the one who popularized week 17 game stacks in general. Something I did way back in BBM2. You know, I made a concerted effort to unplug from other best ball people. I wanted the thoughts pretty pure to myself this year. Too many cooks in the kitchen. So, killer. So, you know, showed up to the finals with some of my favorite players too. Puka Nakua, man, on 10 teams, unreal. Didn't end up mattering, but still. Trey McBride. Yeah, guys that were on my other best ball teams. Trey McBride was... don't remember if Chuba was. Jonathan Taylor won me BBM2 as well. So, I mean, clearly I'm a Jonathan Taylor dude going forward. Got to give him his flowers. Brian Thomas Jr., one of my highest drafted players this year. I streamed not the Puka one, but I streamed my other one. Guy in first drafted in June. Yeah, I mean, look, there's reasons to draft late. There's reasons to draft early. One more thing I wanted to go over, because I've been forgetting to, is just in case anyone saw this, there became a thing with like collusion. There's one guy who got 4 teams to the best ball finals, and I wanted to talk about that because I had been meaning to. So this dude, Zayler Music, I caution even giving attention to this because you're always going to have the tinfoil hat people, but I started seeing this guy post under some of my stuff and whatnot, and basically what happened is Genetic Freaks and Money Train are the 2 individuals we're looking at here. And so I saw this guy sharing about it, and I get it, right? You see that what happened is, I'm not going to go into it all here, but what happened is Money Train and Genetic Freaks drafted against each other a lot of the time. Probably like 50 plus drafts. Genetic Freaks had a bad year. He only advanced 2 teams. Money Train had a great year. Money Train advanced like 70 teams. He also advanced 4 teams to the Best Ball Mania finals. So clearly, unreal year for Money Train. People who didn't bother to do any due diligence, and the type of people who like to think that when something goes wrong for them, oh, it must be because I was cheated, because I'm a genius, right? It must be, yes, people are cheating. It's never, what could I have done better to have a good year as well? What, like, why did this occur? It's never ever trying to like distill that. It's always, oh, here's something unusual. We were cheated. So anyways, Money Train and Genetic Freaks drafted against each other a lot. What I think happened, I can't confirm this, but what I think happened is both of them joined slow drafts before the season started. And why I make that assumption is I looked up both their drafts, and but almost all of their drafts are slows and slow drafts, and almost all of them were joined between like August 31st and September 1st. So when you join a bunch of slow drafts, what happens is, and you know, anyone in anything understands this, is you fill the lobby for the next 50 things. And if someone else joins 50 slow drafts at the same time, they fill the lobby for the next 50 things as well. So both these guys were trying to get in their teams. They both entered at the same time. Money Train repeatedly drafted Derrick Henry. He repeatedly drafted Saquon. He repeatedly drafted a lot of the same guys. Just like people on this channel will know that I talked about FF Wizard. I talked about hit him with the gritty, about how these were bad techniques, but you're not trying to win the contest with the same lineup again. Money Train basically was a successful version of FF Wizard or hit him with the gritty this year, right? And so massive survivorship bias where people are like, wow, look at this guy drafting the same players again and again. Almost everyone else who does that has a shitty year. This guy, though, happened to do that. And, you know, of course, he drafted some bad players again and again, but he also drafted some good players. Now, Genetic Freaks had a bad year. Why? Well, number one, he had a bad year because he kept on drafting against Money Train. And so when you're drafting against a guy who is drafting the advanced rate monsters in most of your drafts, you're effectively competing for one other spot out of a 12-person room to advance. So it was hard for him to advance in general. Secondly, Genetic Freaks built a lot of his teams the same way, which was heavy week 17 correlation, heavy zero running back, and a narrow player pool. And specifically, he kept on drafting Ezekiel Elliott. He kept on drafting Gus Edwards. So it's like, this guy clearly consumed content, was building teams that could win, in my opinion. And he was very extreme. There wasn't a lot. He was drafting, you know, he drafted like the Broncos again and again. So he drafted very risky, and he got burned this year. I actually bothered to do the due diligence, unlike this guy who was just screaming. I said, unsurprisingly, the tinfoil hat crew didn't really bother to do any due diligence. I caution to bring attention to this, but I think it's important to explain what happened here. I understand optically this doesn't look great, and it's easy to feel cheated and just shout, collusion! This is part of the reason why people who watch my streams in the summer, you'll notice that a lot of times I just go live. I don't say, hey, I'm doing a draft at this time, because I don't want one of you out there to get in 50 drafts with me, have a bad year, and then people are like, wow, look at Liam colluding with random name bunch of numbers. Not to mention that, obviously, it's stupid to try to collude in best ball. Like, if you're going to go cheat for money, I don't know. How about do anything else? Like, literally anything else. Don't try to cheat a best ball tournament. Number one, Underdog actually does draft check. They do contest integrity check. And if they thought these guys cheated, they would have banned both the accounts, canceled the drafts. So they looked into it. Secondly, obviously in best ball, you could cheat and you could actually get like Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson on the team. And guess what? You weren't winning with that. That didn't win you because it's a super chaotic game. Not to mention your guys can get hurt. Number three, you're trying to collude for something where first place is $1.5 million and 100th is 11K. So it's extremely top heavy. It's hard to get there. It's financially stupid to do it, not to mention the time you're wasting. This is another reason why I'm against draft programs as well, because it would make cheating actually remove the time constraint. But yeah, like, no, this was not collusion to me. Ignoring that would be financially stupid to spend twice the entry fee trying to help someone win a crazy, insane, top-heavy contest. It's hard. That's hard to get the finals in. Like, go cheat at like online poker, right? Like, there's plenty of people cheating at that, sharing cards or whatever. What likely happened here is Train and Freaks both entered a bunch of slow drafts at the same time near the end of the tournament close. So I had success drafting early. Train had success drafting late. Train absolutely crushed advance rate this year. And unsurprisingly, Freaks was terrible. Part of the reason why is because he was competing against Money Train again and again, who kept on taking Saquon and Derrick Henry. Right? Like, even if you and a friend joined 150 drafts, it's not like you guys could force one of those players to advance every time. You couldn't do that. But like you would need to like have a crystal ball. The other reason Freaks wasn't good at advancing is because he drafted a lot of 0 RB teams and kept on taking the same bad targets such as Gus and Zeke. Almost all his teams were correlated teams and he had a narrow player pool. By the way, the reason why we know all this is because of this tool right here. And the only reason we can have this tool is because Underdog releases its data. I couldn't tell you on DraftKings if this occurred. I couldn't tell you on a different site if this occurred. They don't release the data, right? So if you don't think that players are drafting 50 plus teams together on DraftKings, either on purpose or not, you're a fool. We can actually see, though, who's drafting with who on Underdog and all of that. I looked at several of the drafts, including all 4 of the drafts from Money Train's final 4 teams. None of his teams are that special, nor did anything out of the line occur. Like, really. I'll attach the draft boards here between him and Freaks. So Money Train's got 4 teams for the finals, and one of the 4 teams, Freak wasn't even in there. So one of the teams we don't even have to worry about. Freak was in 3 out of the 4. So this is Freaks here. Freaks went CMC, Devonta, Zay, Lamar, Terry, Ingram, Deontay, Bowers, Jaden, Gus. Perfectly reasonable team. All the players were taken at a reasonable cost. CMC obviously got hurt. He built a hero running back team. He put too much resources into tight end and quarterback, and he didn't hit 0 running back targets. Money Train also built a normal team. Chase, Saquon, Devontae Adams, T Higgins, Jacobs, Kittle, Jameson, Burrow, Dobbs, Goff. Normal team, did not get crazy ADP values. Like, Josh Jacobs in the 5th, maybe the rarest thing he got. And yeah, I don't like slow drafts, but it makes sense to me that in slow drafts, maybe you're less likely to get sniped on Joe Burrow in the 8th when you already have Higgins and Chase because people are taking their time. So normal draft number 1. Normal draft number 2. Genetic Freaks, the guy who had a bad year, goes London, Neighbors, Zay. So Genetic clearly consumes content. He's creating a unique combo going London and Neighbors. This is the other thing that that idiot dude didn't have any understanding of. He's like, why is this guy taking Cooper Kupp at the 1-2 turn? As if 30,000 people didn't do the same thing. Cooper Kupp lived at the 2-3 turn. He opened as a 3-4 turn, right? So this guy has no idea about that. He's just throwing out opinions about how he was cheated. A lot of people started taking Cooper Kupp at the 1-2 turn after Puka's injury, partially to be unique. So Genetic creates a unique combo here. London, Neighbors, Flowers, Lamar. Clearly he likes Flowers, Lamar. Kittle, Montgomery, Addison, Love, Wicks, Njoku. He's big on stacking. He's big on week 17 correlation. He goes Montgomery, Kittle, right? He goes Addison, Love, Wicks. Money Train, the guy who's got 4 teams, goes Jefferson, Saquon, Henry, Laporta, Calvin Ridley, Chris Godwin, Jameson, Ramondre, Dobbs, Spears. Totally normal team. Nothing rare here. And then I accidentally posted the same team twice. Here's the 3rd draft. Genetic Freaks goes Bijan, Nico, normal. If you're going to collude, don't you think that Genetic should just pass on the good players and not be taking guys like Nico? Bijan, Nico, Zay, Pickens, Kittle, Kyler, Ladd, Sutton, Singletary, Herbert, Gus. Totally normal. He keeps on taking Gus. Chase, Taylor, that's kind of rare, but nothing out of the line. Some guy took Waddle. Henry, Higgins, Andrews, Godwin, Jameson, Addison, Chase Brown, Spears, Goff. Nothing really out of line here. Maybe if Money Train was cheating, he wouldn't take the guy who got ruled out for the year, Chris Godwin. So yeah, when you think something's out of line and you have the ability to actually look into it, do it. I don't blame this guy for bringing attention to this. My first opinion on it was what's going on here? But then I bothered to look into it and I was like, okay, I understand what's going on here. It's really nothing. So yeah, I don't think anything out of line happened there. I don't think any collusion occurred. I think people do try to collude. They're just idiots, right? And they get caught usually. And yeah, like part of the, I don't slow draft, but I definitely see the case for drafting a bunch of slow draft teams towards the end. Like maybe I'm going to do that for my DraftKings ones next year. And you're going to compete against the same guys. And guess what? That's part of variance and randoms too. You could be competing against me. That's probably not what you want in 50 drafts. You also could be competing against the guy who's going to take the same guys again and again and either going to have a really good year or a really bad year, So kind of a weird time to segue that conversation, but I wanted to go over it just in case because people see this dude sharing it and they're just like, oh, of course, right? I was cheated. No, you weren't here. And shout out Underdog for actually releasing the data and all that. Yeah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think that's probably going to do it here. It's a pleasure that I got to hang out with the chat. It's a pleasure that I can share these successes, It's a peer-to-peer game. Utter blessing to have made the finals with two teams and run deep. I'll be here. I'll be streaming. But, 5 years in a row, no finals. I think people would be tired of hearing 3-time Best Ball Mania champion. So we got to keep it up. We got bills to pay ourselves here. We got to keep the success up. And yeah, I mean, really, no one's had the success I've had in Best Ball. Obviously, there's people who've made more money than me. Fareed's made more money than me. He won $3 million. But repeated success is what it's about. Not in actually raw dollars, but in terms of legacy, right? I've won Best Ball Mania 2. Hopefully, I'm going to top 10 this. Could go either way. Really hoping that the Lions do the right thing, dude. Rest up. You got the Vikings. Take them down there. Playoff Best Ball content you can find at beatbestball.com. Be sure to like, guys. Be sure to subscribe. $100 a year for beatbestball.com. You'll get all my rankings. That's calendar year. So you sign up now, you'll be covered for next year. Happy New Year to everyone. I don't know if Davis and I are doing a stream this week. If we do, probably do it tomorrow. I'll have to talk to him about that. Appreciate you guys being here. When I end the stream, refresh it, drop a comment. Helps me grow. Trying to get to 7K subscribers. Slowly growing. Maybe after my 50th Best Ball tournament win, we'll reach 10K. We'll get there. Peace out.